welcome back to another edition of Checkers, Wreckers, and What the Heckers. My name is Chad Beard, and I'm a country music artist, content creator, and NASCAR super fan. Joined as always by my incredibly annoying co-host. Incredible
nice.
co-host.
That's not nice at all.
What are we doing right now?
Please allow me to introduce them to you. Straight out of Ohio, and somehow still this well put together. The man proving cornfields can produce elite flow. VIP coordinator for the Haas factory team and mover of passes, commander of access, and owner of a hairline so strong, it's basically team issued equipment. Barbers respect him. Wind fears him. He has arrived. The follicle phenom, Rick Kojan.
What's up, y'all? Happy New Year. Thanks for having me. And my hair and I are happy to be back for another year.
Amazing. I'll drink to that.
Appreciate that. Chad, you never drink to that. Well, actually, you do with your vitamin-fused vanilla
matcha
water.
Low fat cocoa puffs.
I just got water tonight.
Yeah,
He's so healthy.
But let's get on to the good stuff. Come on.
All right.
All rise. Come on.
Entering the studio like a man who's never lost an argument and never will. IT guy for Hendrick Motorsports, former state record holder for the fastest man in North Carolina, and still delivering rulings at full speed. He doesn't raise his voice. He hands down verdicts. Facts only, no appeals. Court is officially in session. Chris, the Supreme Court Justice, is here.
Well, welcome back, boys.
Yeah.
Happy 2026 here we got going on.
All rise.
I'm excited. We got a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
We do. It's going to get wild. We have an incredible guest, and we're going to do our first Checkers, Wreckers, What the Heckers for the year, and we're going to do it with our guest.
It's going
to be awesome.
Twist.
Lots of things going on in the NASCAR world. Can't wait to get into that. But before we do, let's bring him in. Tonight's guest has broken up past plays, relationships, and the NASCAR color barrier. Built for contact, wired for honesty, and never afraid to hit something head on. If you like your stories real and your impact undeniable, you're in the right place. Entering the studio like a walking disruption, ladies and gentlemen, Rocko Williams is here.
Yeah, what's up? I like that.
Welcome. Yeah, that was
I gotta use that all the time. I gotta use that all the time when I come in the house.
Disruption.
Ready to disrupt something.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us there, Rock. I know it's been a minute since we shared the same screen. We appreciate you coming on, man. And
absolutely.
Yeah, because
thanks for having me, guys.
You two guys did a podcast before together, right?
Yeah, nice.
Oh, yeah.
This is kind of a reunion. The only problem is I think they did it with a very pretty lady, Chad, and neither you nor I are filling that gap. So this is definitely a different podcast. If anybody goes back and they're like, "Where's the hot girl?"
We need to call up one of these other ladies we've had on recently. We need Carla Metz to come back, or Jesse Punch, or Taylor, or some of these other ladies.
Exactly.
You've done a good job.
You've done a good job. They're much better host and better to look at than us. But
agreed.
Anyways. All right, so let's talk about you, Rocko. So
let's do it.
You grew up essentially thinking that you were going to, and for all intents and purposes, you were for a long time a football star, right? Played football and were a standout in high school. I saw all conference, all DeKalb County Defensive Player of the Year and team MVP, correct?
Yes. If I can remember high school, let me recalibrate a little bit. That was so long ago, but growing up in Atlanta, Stone Mountain, Georgia, football was my outlet pretty much. I had a house full of women. My mother was a single mother. I had sisters, I had aunts, I had grandmothers. We just had a lot of women around me, and which really propelled me to want to stay out the house. So I really wasn't a football jock, a nut or whatever. I was very athletic and social, but really football, I just wanted to stay out the house, man. I was always in somebody's way. I was always causing a trouble. I had 4 women in the house yelling at me all the time. So once I discovered that, hey, I don't got to go home all the time, I could stay here at school. I mean, I really got motivated. And then once I realized that, hey, you can even go to school for free, that really motivated me because I never really thought about college, being that I was the first one to go to college in my family. So, I mean, they were very successful as entrepreneurs and, military. My whole family grew up in the military, but we never really had college on our radar. So once I discovered that, hey, okay, we can get to college and I don't have to pay anything. And once I started getting attention and seeing that everybody wanted me, I was like, oh, shoot, it's good to be wanted. And that's what really motivated me and opened up a lot of other doors.
Yeah. So you received 15 D1 offers, right?
About that. Yep, absolutely.
Jesus.
And
good homework, Chad. Good homework.
Well, I try.
Great host.
It didn't really matter though.
Yeah, great host.
And then you said, you know what? The thing that's going to put me over the edge, I got to go to Wake Forest because I got to play football with Chris Justice. That's all there is to
it. Yes, absolutely. CJ, Chris Justice was a Greensboro boy, and we did meet. He was a year older than me.
Yeah, I was a year
he was there prior. But I did come into Wake Forest with the smallest freshman class in Wake Forest history. It was only 10 athletes that they recruited that year. So we had a very mature team that year. They went to a bowl game right out the gate freshman year. But CJ Leak was my roommate, and he was Mr. North Carolina at the time, Independence High School.
Played out Independence High School, yeah.
Yeah, and I was Georgia, you were North Carolina, right, Chris? So, yep. We had a little bit of a thing like Georgia football was better. But when I realized CJ Leak was who he was, and he happened to be my roommate, that was the first really experience where I realized, okay, I've been a civilian my whole life. This dude is a pro. He's going to be a pro because he had both his parents. His dad was on him. His dad played ball and gave him a template before he got there. So luckily for me, I got paired up with a guy like him where I could just follow his lead after I was messing up because I'm the guy, this is my first time here at a school like Wake Forest. And I didn't even want to go to Wake Forest. I ended there because I had no choice, so it was just one of those things. When you grew up in a family like mine, Coach Caldwell, who was the first African-American hired in the ACC at the time, had the presence of mind not to recruit me. He recruited my mother when I was on a visit. He recruited my mother. So basically, mother said, you can take all your visits, but you're playing for Coach Caldwell. So I was like, who? Wake Forest didn't even have a football team. That's Tim Duncan. That's basketball. We ain't playing no ball at Wake Forest. But anyways, I digress. I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a choice. I went, and hindsight's 2020, probably one of the best decisions I ever made because it placed me in North Carolina, and then after the football dried up, the professional athletes sports through NASCAR blew up. And if I wasn't in North Carolina, I would have never been able to take advantage of that.
Well, you act like it just dried up real quick. According to these stats that I see, you were a 2-year starter at inside linebacker. You played in the 2000 Aloha Bowl and the 2002 Seattle Bowl. You were the ACC player.
That was the 99 Aloha Bowl, Chad.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Good correction. Good correction, Supreme Court. Good correction.
So you played
overruled, Bearden.
It's getting hot in here.
You played in 2 bowl games, and you were the ACC Player of the Week and had 12 tackles versus NC State.
Yeah, sacked Phillip Rivers' ass tue. I
nice.
did. Highlight of my day. I had
I bet you could today too.
Dude, when we played, when me and Chris played, I'm proud to say that we were part of, football without the, it's not proud to say, but it's just something we have to endure. Yes, concussion protocol and the way they take care of these players now is so very important. But hey, you got to appreciate too the fact that you didn't have all of that, and that was just it was what it was, and you succeeded. So I'm very proud that I was able to be a part of that experience because I see the changes now, just like in racing, the changes now. 21 years in racing, you see a lot of things in retrospect at this age, and then I don't even think about football anymore now until we started talking about it. But, when I start thinking about that, there's a lot of synergies and correlations between, what we do as pro athletes in motorsports compared to what we did in stick and ball. But then it is very, very different as well, which you don't really learn until like year 6 or 8. But after you develop that, man, I coined this sport as America's best kept secret, especially for the black man, because we ignored it on purpose for so many, at least in my time,
had no clue.
From 2000s. We ignored it on purpose.
I mean, listen,
now that
we
we're
used
not,
to visit Charlotte and drive past Lowe's Motor Speedway and think nothing about it.
I lived 25 minutes from Atlanta Motor Speedway. I knew nothing about it.
Right. You know what I mean? So it was definitely not on the radar at all.
No, it's on the radar now. And it's exciting when that Chris and I, we can legitimately say that, there's not too many brothers of color like us that are so entrenched in this sport in a way where we don't compromise who we are as well. We kind of help shape who this sport is and proud to be a part of it. So, I mean, you can count on two hands those guys, like me and Chris. So it's special. It's like it's a special fraternity. It's real. It's a very unique experience. And being able to share it with at all levels of stick and ball sports now, it's just, I don't know. I haven't worked in 21 years, put it that way.
Nice.
Yeah. So you graduated in 2004 with a BA in communication. How do you venture into NASCAR? How do you first start getting that in?
Avoiding real work is how you get into NASCAR on my level, because you wanted to be a pro athlete, but I didn't get any invites to the official NFL combine. I wasn't on the radar of all the NFL teams. I had a up and down college career. This was pre-NIL. And I preached NIL. I felt like we were being pimped by the NCAA. I hated it. I mean, I was getting paid. I had to hide it. I was getting all types of stuff. We had to hide everything, to the point now where you don't. So I say that to say, remind me what I was saying. We got back in there.
How'd you get into NASCAR?
How'd you
get
the crossover?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So coming into that part, you weren't highly recruited to the NFL, so your only options are practice squad, sign as a free agent, Canadian League, Arena League. And at that time, special teams and practice squad, not taking care of the players like they are. I mean, it's hard on your body. I mean, you're a head buster, you're a wedge break. It's hard, for that 300K, on average, you're making 3 years, you're in the NFL. And then after that, you're either so hurt or you didn't put yourself in position financially or whatever the case, where you have to get a job where it's, I don't know. I saw that a lot from the guys graduating who didn't get those offers. So when, right place at the right time, I'm always like, Wake Forest is a liberal arts school. And with that you don't specialize in one thing. You kind of learn everything, right? And I was already like that. I'm an Aquarius by heart. I was born overseas, whatever. So I was always a road less traveled type of guy. And that's what this NASCAR experience was for me. 2 roads diverged in the wood. Which one do you take? I choose the one less traveled by. Less crowded, not as busy. And I was curious. I tell you when it got me. All right. NASCAR reached out to all the local North Carolina schools, NC State, Wake Forest, Chapel Hill. Coach Phil Horton, who was just hired from the NBA to Chip Ganassi Racing, was brought in as the first pit crew coach. Second pit crew coach. Well, they argue over who's the first. Andy Papathanacio from Hendrick Motorsports and Coach Phil Horton, they kind of started at the same time. So long story short, they think that they're the first. But when that happened, he had the presence of mind to see, how will I make pit stops better? Let me bring in athletes who, one, they train every single day. 2, they put their bodies in precarious situations all the time, human frogger. And 3, they have a bet on me type attitude and hold themselves accountable. He brought in 6 football players who never knew each other and 1 baseball player, because we had a catch can at the time, and brought us in. Once I got to the race shop, guys, and I looked in the parking lot and I saw all the new Dodges, new trucks. I mean, brand new. 2004 was my first year. 2004 trucks. I even saw a crew chief with a 2005, not even out yet. It was crazy. SRT Dodge Vipers. And, I was like, what in the world is going on? Then you walk into the shop. It was immaculate. You could eat off the floors. And then I walked to the pit crew area. Mind you, I'm 24, 25 years old. I'm not good enough for the NFL, but I can bench 225 30 times. I have a 39-inch vertical. I run a 5'40". I'm 240 pounds with a chip on my shoulder. When I take me to the pit crew area, and they said, "You're going to be a tire carrier. Watch these guys. This is what we're going to need you to do." And I look, I see one guy with a cigarette. I see one guy sitting on the wall with a beer gut. I see another guy. I mean, he looks older than my dad. And I said, okay, so I got to follow these guys. Man, after 3 months, they fast tracked us so quick. We were doing a Daytona 500. Didn't think nothing of it because we were having fun. You know, we were doing something we never did before. And when you can leave one sport where you're viewed as a practice squad guy and jump into another where you're looked at as Ray Lewis,
elite. Yeah.
Do you know how that made me feel? Nothing else existed. I just started really focusing on bigger, faster, stronger. I treated everything like, I wanted to be the best. The problem with those first 2 years is I treated it just like football. And this was not football. I was dealing with guys 10, 15 years older than me. I was dealing with guys that never been around a black man in before. I was dealing with the guys jealous that I was going to take their job. I was dealing with the guys who were scared because of the music I played and the fact that I had a Cadillac Eldorado, lowered with 2 12s in the back with the words ATL Shawty in the back.
You know those 12s were bumping back there. Now we're getting into my world. Come on.
With red leather interior.
Come on.
This kid right here, man.
Pull up to the shop.
This kid right here, when he said he traveled in his own lane, from the day we got on campus to today, we're talking.
Are you talking about college now?
Oh, he was in your own lane then. And now you're still in your own lane. So when Hitman says he walks his own lane,
I didn't know any better, guys. I was born in Germany as a black man. I had to find my own lane. This was back in the 90s and 2000s when skinheads were alive. Me and my sister were chased by skinheads one time. We had to hide in a manhole. And we were like 13 years old in Germany. We were on trains to Paris. And I was flying to Germany by myself with no parents. Okay, at 9, 10, 12, 13 every summers. So mind you, you're looked at as weird when you come back to the States because of your experience. Then you're light skinned and they don't know if you're black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, whatever. You fit into multiple categories. So you had to learn how to blend in and adapt to situations that are unfamiliar. And I don't think anything was unfamiliar than what I experienced 2004 when I walked in at Chip Ganassi Racing. And saw what I saw, and that is what motivated me because of the fact that I saw that there was a need for somebody to hold these crews accountable. Hold them accountable through performance. Look good, feel good, play good. All right? We're out here too. We make a difference on this pit crew. We're not just mechanics. I'm not a mechanic. I'm an athlete. We make a difference for this race. So long story short, the 17 years over the wall, my whole goal was my fuel that fueled me the most was the fact that once I got to Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin and Hendrick Motorsports, I realized, okay, a lot of guys want to be here. I'm here. How do I maximize this opportunity? And that's when it really started rolling for me because I realized how special it was to be at a place like a Hendrick Motorsports, to have come from Petty in Randleman, Petty Motorsports, where there was only 2 other guys that looked like me there. And one of them, Chris G, he might have been Richard Petty's son. I don't know. It was just crazy the history that I learned, and the stuff that I've seen. And once our other athletes started coming in, and we started populating and started competing, you had a responsibility, it turned into a responsibility that, okay, you created this is your legacy. However you mold these guys coming in after you is how it's going to be left. And I remember how it was in college football when I felt used, undervalued, not paid, couldn't work all day long. We practicing, we couldn't get that money. Then we had to hide getting this money. I remember that. I said, I have an opportunity now through NASCAR, through motorsports and the athletes that I'm directly bringing in now to do something about it now.
Yeah, you brought me in 05.
We said that?
Said you brought me in 05.
05. Yep, yeah. Chris came in 05. And a slew of 83 athletes. 83 athletes In total, $3.2 million in salary they generate a year in a sport they did not know existed until we pulled them by the ear and said, no, come in here into this sport. Probably more than 82 now. I just dropped one off yesterday to Joe Gibbs Racing from San Jose State. He was here for a coaches convention. Did not have NASCAR on his radar. He met me and ended up at Joe Gibbs Racing yesterday.
Dang.
27 years old, 6'3", 200, 190 pounds. You know, freak. But that's how it is drawn now, where the recruiting world has even changed. We don't have to recruit anymore.
Right.
The teams are doing it by the trolls, all wrong, but they're trying their best, because I can't be at all the teams. So what I do, I'll get the diamonds in the rough. I got 11 this year. 11, all spread out between 4 different race teams. It's not about quantity now. It's about quality, because when you have elite athletes on pit road, not only are you elevating the pit stop, you're making it safer. You know, you're making it cooler because of the guys doing it now. When you see them, you know, over the wall or back over the wall, and they take their helmets off, you're like, God dang, when you come to the racetrack, you look at it, it's like, dang, they twice my size.
Yep.
They look the part. When you interview them, they talk the part. They represent their teams right now. Wait till NFL. Wait till I bring the NILs here and we start using athletes to generate another source of income for sponsorship through human performance. Wait till that happens. Our guys, the guys alone that we have brought in with our backgrounds, like Chris and the guys that we brought in, we're all college educated. We've all, you know, performed at a high level. And now we're on the top race teams in the world competing at a high level. There's nobody else in the world doing what we do on pit road. So being a part of that, and ushering in the next wave of that. I mean, if you look at 2004 to 2025, 2026, the way it looks now, 2026, the way it looks now, you know, I mean, it's very proud. You know, I'm very proud to say that, you know, just with everything going on in NASCAR, that I can say that I've been in the sport for as long as I have. And I can't imagine myself doing anything else. It'll all be predicated around, 1, our athletes, 2, you know, creating content, 3, making sure we broadcast and talk about these pit crews the right way. We've never had the pit crews, you know, talked about or being broke down or analyzed on TV by an actual athlete who did it at a high level. It's always been a driver, an owner. And don't get me anything wrong, but these drivers have never done what I've done. Half of them has never been to college. They've been driving since they were 7 in a car. That's what makes them great.
Right.
That's what makes them great. So when it comes to interacting with people, you know, and being a superstar, holding yourself accountable, making your players and your teammates better. Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon knew how to do that. I don't know if they did it when they were early, when in age, but by the time I got to Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, I knew I didn't want to mess up because I didn't want to let them down.
Right.
Them. I knew who he was. Mark Martin wouldn't say anything to anybody because he knew he might fire you. And he didn't want to be your friend. It's a job. Jeff Gordon did. He said everything. And when he fired you, you didn't even know where it was coming from. So at the end of the day, those 2 guys and a lot of other guys that I've met ever since I got into the sport, the one thing that helped me out the most is the fact that I knew how to be a sponge and learn from the guys that were doing it before me and then make it my own. And to the day, I'm still doing it. I'm learning from everybody. You got to think it's my 21st year. I know guys, it's their 30th year, 35th year. This is all they've done since they were 15. You get what I'm saying? So the fact of the matter is that this is a traveling circus. It is entertainment, something that I love to do. But what makes it even different is it's not stick and ball. And it's something that is evolving and will constantly. Football, it is what it is. It can't get any better. Basketball can't get any better. Same thing, you know? But with us in NASCAR, we're just starting. NASCAR has been around for 75 years, and we're just now starting. So that's exciting.
It is. So you talked about the progress and the people you met and the things that fueled you through the course of your career, right? So as you aged out, and I'm not saying that in a joking way, but obviously we all got older and the pit stops sucked and they hurt, not sucked in performance wise, but your body ached, pain, and you aged out. What was the transition for you? Leaving Hendrick Motorsports, all right, my time's up, in the pit crew world. What was your next move?
I will say my experience was unique because I did not age out. I left 3 years prior to my contract ending thinking I was better than what I was. All right. That was my first mistake. You know, here I am with a team for over 10 years. I've won so much. I have many firsts. But it got to a point where I felt like I became the whooping stick. Mind you, the responsibility I had and the reason why I got to Hendrick is because I held myself so accountable. I never took vacations. I never went out of town in the off seasons. I felt like, and my mentor taught me that if you did, you would just get replaced by someone else, especially a white man. You know, that's how I had to think because I was the only one. They were like, you can't take vacations, Rock. If you do, you know, so I had that mindset, you know, already. Like I had to be above and beyond. You know, so, oh man, y'all are taking me back to that feeling, man. Put it this way, to answer your question, I didn't know what I was doing, Chris. We didn't know what we were doing. I was surviving. I was trying to survive, Chris. You know,
listen,
I was trying to get another contract.
From the outside looking in, like me watching you move and shake as I was moving and shaking in my career, and we took similar paths, but they were the same but different, right? Watching you move and shake, I'm like, man, he's got his shit together over there, right? You know what I mean? Like, listen, Chris, it looked that way. You was moving and shaking.
Who was showing us? Who was showing us, right? Nobody. So it was trial and error, and you were just hoping for the best. Listen. And what we got lucky in is that this sport needed that energy. And here's what I mean by the energy. All right, I started at Chip Ganassi, so I was Sterling Marlin in his last year. That was my first crew member. Then
that's my favorite driver all time.
Oh man, let me tell you a quick story about Sterling. I couldn't
tell me all this
stuff.
I mean, let me just.
Couldn't
did he speak English? Yeah. Did he speak English?
We were all come on, Aaron.
Yeah. That's what the radio sounded like. You're like Glover. It would start off as Glover. I don't Glover. That's all you heard. It was Glover. All right. So Sterling Marlin. Then I went to Reed Sorensen, right?
Oh,
and then I got let go. I got into a fight, got in some drama, you know, thinking it was all football and thinking that, you know, this was all camaraderie and a lockery, kumbaya, and all my brother's keeper, and all my boys got my back. You know, then I learned that no, we're a bunch of mercenaries. And we got sacrificial lambs coming at me because they were nervous. They didn't want me there. And I took the bait. I took the damn bait, got let go with no pay, no nothing. And they were like, okay, we won. We won. He gone. No, he's not gone. I had to drive an hour and a half to Randleman because the only team that would hire me was Richard Petty in Greensboro. And I did my 2-year bid there, I call it. 2-year bid because we were excited finishing on a lead lap on the 45 car. You know, that was us.
Listen, I had days like that, bro. Listen, I get
it. 2 years, dude. 2 years. We were excited about that. But here's the thing that I didn't realize. When you're excited about finishing on a lead lap, that means you're pitting a lap down every single time, right?
Yeah.
So when you
pit road's yours.
You know what I'm saying, right, Chris?
Pretty empty.
Oh, yeah. Pretty empty.
So when you're pitting a lap down, that means everybody else is done and they're watching you.
You. Yeah.
So when they were watching me, I made sure I was the cleanest. I made sure my fire suit looked the best. I had brand new shoes every race. My glasses matched my hat matched my belt matched my glove. My radio was decked out. I had my shoes spatted up. I knew the name of every single executive who was pitted next to me, who I wasn't even on the team. So when they saw me pit and they said, why doesn't your guys move like that guy? It only took 2 years of doing that till I got my first tryout at Hendrick. And then once I got there, you know, learning from the likes, you know, Chad Knaus and Steve Letard and Alan Gustafson, my bestie right there, and then just seeing what was going on at a high level from these guys. Chad Knaus moved there and slept in his car. He was a pit crew and became what he had. Alan Gustafson was an engineer. And all. Everybody's story that I saw who was about something always came from nothing and believing in themselves, packing up their car and driving to North Carolina from wherever they come. I was like, what the hell? And all of them were successful, which made me believe if you have the balls and the ability and the gumption and the know-how to believe in yourself and bet on yourself, that's enough karma right there that's going to make it work out. If you don't ever do it, then you never are in a position to take advantage of that positive energy that's going to come from you believing in yourself. And then that seemed to be the story of everybody, Chris, right? Everybody that we talked to, even you, when you went out to Vegas, I was like, what the hell? That boy Chris, and you were a mechanic, yo. Like you were straight up mechanic.
Yeah, wrenching on cars, like, trucks, and doing the pit stops, bro.
And these are guys that never changed their oil. At least I didn't. I never changed my oil.
I did do that growing up, but that's about it.
Not in a house full of women. I didn't do that. You know, we just went to the little quickie lube or whatever. You know, we bought a new car when it broke down. You know, they ain't teaching me nothing. Oh, the car broke. The light on. Let's get a new one. But
yeah,
no,
so
I mean,
so you made that transition, and now you do some things with Monster. You got the fuel thing. You kind of help out New York Racing, super guys over there.
Yeah, it is. It just happened, you know.
So you follow up with Chris's question. You leave Hendrick Motorsports or whatever happens there, and then what is it that you do now? Like, what's your official title and what are your job details now?
See, you can tell I played linebacker. You see how I totally forgot that story?
Been hit a few times. You've had more than one game with 12 tackles.
You can see where I was going with that. So, I mean, I'll finish that story. I had 3 years left on my contract, and I felt like, okay, I don't want to end my career here. Joe Gibbs Racing and was recruiting me hard. They wanted me to leave. I told them I wanted to leave. Simple as that. I had 3 years left. I was tired of being the guy that, you know, had to motivate everybody. You had to treat Rocko bad to get everybody else in line because they're like, damn, they're doing Rocko like this. I better not mess up. And I embraced it for so long, but I wanted to feel what it felt like to not have to do that, to just blend in, you know? And luckily I did what I did with 3 years prior, because it created opportunities that I would not have had at that time as a pit crew member. Just like in college, where the NCAA stifled us with the absence of NILs, the team stifled us back then as pit crew members because they weren't used to these personalities. I was doing commercials with Jeff Gordon. He knew my first name. Anytime Hendrick needed a commercial, I was on Undercover Boss. I was doing all this stuff. I was signing autographs on pit road because the drivers weren't there. And everybody wanted a Jeff. So you step up and do it. So you're doing that and you realize that okay, we have to make sure that what we're doing wasn't done in vain. I became a recruiter. During my last 6 years at Hendrick Motorsports, NASCAR came at me with the opportunity to be the NASCAR Drive for Diversity developmental pit crew combine recruiter. So my Coach Horton, my mentor and myself, for 6 years while I was pitting, we would go to colleges, universities, and hold combines for athletes, you know, with everything in our bag, with jump rope, a ladder, camera. We would use the bench press and the equipment that these schools had. And we would leave with 5 or 6 kids, fly them to North Carolina, pay for them to live, train them for 3 years. We would train them. And then after the 3rd year, they start full-time with a race team as a professional athlete. We did that for 6 years to the point where that evolved eventually where we didn't need 3 years to train them. We started using the team resources. We started creating recruiting elite athletes. It went down to 1 year to the point where now I consult for all the race teams, trying to do what I do and scale it for everyone. Because at the end of the day, it won't help out what we're doing if just one team has all of us need to be elite. So I created Overdrive Entertainment Management. It is a company formed, talent agency, managing and representing pit crew athletes, mechanics, crew chiefs, engineers, giving them the same opportunity that I had through my mentors. Knowing that when you go to a race shop, tuck in your shirt, look nice. Don't look like you straight off the street. Knowing who the crew chiefs are and saying, yes, sir, making the eyes immediately. Giving them the runout, giving them the cheat sheet before they even enter the race shops. So you don't have 2 years like me at Chip Ganassi trying to figure it out and have to make up for it. No, guys that come through us now, they understand because they get taught. And let me tell you this, guys. Luckily, just being around a lot of people, I can tell you before even talking to somebody, if an athlete is going to have what it takes to make it in this sport. By looking at him.
I read him on Pit Road 2 every week. I'm like, this kid ain't gonna make it. Bro.
So easy, right, Chris? Well, when you've done it and you've had to do what you had, you know immediately if someone has it or not. Immediately. So it just becomes easy for us. You get what I'm saying? They should hire me and Chris for every single team, and we didn't have to work another day in our life because we could do this sleeping. But the pride in these crew chiefs and these team managers who's never played sports in their entire life, who were engineers and nerds and very smart guys, but never been in a locker room. And then they're trying to manage guys who have been in the locker room. And then eventually when you get elite guys and they fact check you, there's going to be a disconnect. There is. And that's where we are now. When you're bringing in dogs and elite guys who play pro and done things you have never, ever seen. And then you're hiring pit crew coaches and team managers to run these athletes who come from high school football, who worked at Walmart, who used to be chefs. And I'm not saying anything, but if you look at the background from every assistant coach, every professional coach in the NFL, college and soccer, in tennis, you're going to see coaches who are athletes coaching athletes. It's rare. And this was what really got me in my last 5 years in this sport. It's rare to see an engineer or somebody who has never took a man out and thought that he was dead. You get what I'm saying? And then think nothing of it, to that dog. And then you're bringing guys with this mentality in and then wondering why they're not connecting or you can't motivate them or get them to do what you want them to do. You get what I'm saying? Because they're looking at you just like a paycheck. So what I'm telling you is my end game in this is to scale this feeling of Chris and I and this viewpoint of how I love this sport and scale it and teach it to all the pit crews who are representing what we gave them the opportunity to do and not mess it up. So they'll put in an electronic jack or something to get rid of us or something because, you know, that's where they used to always threaten us with.
Yeah, the air jacks, they were coming.
Yeah, like Formula One and IndyCar.
We won't be Indy. We'll never be Indy. We'll never be F1 because their pit stops are boring. There's 30 people over there. You don't need to be special. Don't need to be special to pit those cars. You need to be the best in the world and special to pit in NASCAR. And once I realized that, I mean, you get hooked, man. And I feel like everybody who has, joined this sport, unbeknownst to them or who are oblivious to it before, they become hooked. Man,
that's true. That's true. And I can speak on this. When you have people that watch racing because we're in it.
Yep.
Right. Not because they grew up loving it. They're not race fans. They're us fans who watch the racing and the events that we do. When you get them to the racetrack and they hear it, smell it, feel it, then they go home and watch it every week. Mm-hmm. Right. And then they got more people to watch it because now they're talking about it. So they create the buzz just from them being there and taking that experience back home with them. Right. So that's also very important, man. It's a good point.
It is. And that's where the other job came in, the content creation. How was I going to show my people and show my, if I didn't, I was the first to have the helmet cam on the helmet, the GoPro. I did that. I put the GoPro on the helmet to fact check and hold the teams accountable in meetings on Monday when we did film session, and they would grade me at a 0.7, a 0.8, and I had a 0.6 and a 0.5. Or they were saying I'm a 1.3, but they didn't account that the hose was in my way and the changer was too close. And I mitigated both of those freakishly, where if a civilian was doing it, it would have been a 3.0. So instead
of hang times and for the cats that are listening.
So instead of downing me and reprimanding me, why don't you pat me on the back and say, phenomenal, we need to get 4 more like you, but they couldn't even see that at the time. So we had to teach them that. You get what I'm saying? We're a little bit beyond that point now, but that's what I had to deal with. You know, with showing like, hey, yo, this is not just pit stops. This is something special that we're doing here. And when you can make yourself a machine and do it over and over and over again as a human who makes mistakes, but make yourself to where you don't, there's nothing in the world that, you know, that conveys that feeling. You know, it's like playing ball again, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It's like winning the race. It's like, if you're not an athlete, it's like winning the race, bringing the car that's on the pole, fastest car in practice, then you win the pole, then you win every single stage, and then your pit crew messes up and you lose 8 spots and your car makes up and you still gain a lead and you win the race. You know how you feel as a mechanic when that happens? That's how it feels as a pit crew. So that, you know, when they have the perfect stop. Yeah. So the synergies there between the mechanics and the athletes, once we figured out how to make that, once I figured out on my own team how to make the mechanics stop hating us and make the athletes stop hating the mechanics so much, and we started, you know, working together and one team, one dream type philosophy, dude, it became fun. You know, it became fun because you didn't have to worry about the haters so much, you know, on your own team, you know, because we were all trying to achieve the same goal. I will say this, though. I did not, when I was working with teams at the Petties and Ganassi, I was selfish.
Well, you're also younger. You're younger, too, right?
So but also, I knew I didn't have a chance to win. So I just wanted to make sure if we weren't going to win, my grade sheet was going to be good. You weren't going to say I didn't look good. You get what I'm saying? But then when you got to Hendrick and you start winning, you don't worry about winning no more. That's a given. You get what I'm saying? You just worry about still doing everything you need to do and making sure everybody else is doing what they do so you can keep winning. You get what I'm saying? That's all you focus on now. You're not worried about yourself anymore.
Right.
And once that kicked in, you know, I feel like that's still, you know, with the athletes that we brought in, with the agency, with how I create content. And eventually when I get on TV breaking down these races, you know, it's not going to be in 2028, every single pit stop is going to be broken down by me. I'm letting you know that now. I'm calling it.
Calling it right
now. And if it's not going to be broken down live, I'm going to have my own show streaming it, you know, on every single pit stops with my own cameras there. And you're going to know everybody's name. And you're going to know who the LeBron James are on pit road. You're going to know who the ones that don't want to be seen either. You know, there's so much stuff there that we're missing there only because, you know, the drivers are talking about it and they're doing their best. They really are. I'm not hating on that, but you don't know what you don't know, you know, and it is what it is. You know, I think after this year, you know, with the weight of the lawsuit being over and the excitement of the new format and the energy around the team owners feeling like they're about to get all this money, you know, I feel like this is the time now for athletes and pit crew members to show why they are worth every penny they get.
Yeah, we're going to get into the lawsuit and
we're going to get into all that. Yeah. All that.
This is the time for that. This is the time. Yeah. It's over now. Now let's go and ball out, you know, like we should, because at the end of the day, you know, NASCAR has been around for 75 years. 75 years. And it was family owned. It was private. You know, it wasn't the NFL. It wasn't NBA. It was owned by a family. Okay. So long story short, how excited do you think I am that that's the way it's been for 75 years? Now we got people like Michael Jordan, you know, in this sport to the point where he's excited. I'm just excited about all the other eyes that are on this sport now. And guess what? We were here first. So, we were here first. So who are they going to lean on? Who are they going to need guidance from? An entrepreneur like me? I hear cha-ching, 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 because they're going to come in dumb, not knowing anything, but wanting to do everything. And the ones that that get the best leadership and the best energy early and the best know-how because they don't know anything are the ones that are going to succeed. So get with us or read about us now. If you're watching this, guys like us are who you need to link up with, because if you don't know anything in the sport, they're coming in and they're being taken advantage of. You get what I'm saying? So I'm excited about that. It's come a long way in this sport and just a lot of good positive motion and energy with what we got going on now in 2026.
But 2026 is going to be real. Ricky, you look like you got a lot of questions over there.
Oh, this is usually the part that Chad does.
Get it, Chris.
Look at that, Chad. Get it. Chad, turn your video off. Justice has this.
I told you, you don't even need me.
Listen, Ricky Bobby's busting at the seams over there with questions. He's just shaking in his seat.
You can see it. I mean, I can see it. Listen, I pay attention because, it's free.
Yeah.
And I listen. And so, I'll fire them off real quick, but I got a lot of good stuff. Let's start at the top. Rocko Slaw Williams is a walking disruption. What's the slaw?
It's everything and nothing at all. It's context, it depends on who you're talking to. If I'm around a 20-year vet and I'm looking at this car, man, that's slow as hell. Man, you see that thing coming up, it's slow. If it's somebody I don't know or whatever, man, that thing is slow as hell. It might mean something totally different. Somebody makes a joke that's corny, man, that's slow as hell. Somebody makes a joke that's funny, man, that's slow as hell. That's funny as joke. It's everything and nothing at all. Simply living another way. We did it in high school, man, back in Atlanta.
Really?
When we felt like we were the reason Atlanta became the way it was, back in the day. This was back during Freaknik and the 90s, man, where Atlanta looked like Huntersville. Atlanta looked like Charlotte. You get what I'm saying? And now Charlotte is the baby Atlanta. But we always found ways, to be creative and stick out. We would talk in different languages in front of our teachers and make up languages just to be different. So slaw became out of a necessity of uniqueness and creativity, and it just stuck. It stuck with everything that I've done. It became an identity. Simply living another way. I didn't go the regular route in my career. I'm in NASCAR. I mean, it's very non-conventional. It just seems like it's a mantra to what I believe in.
Copy that. Why? Chad did all this research. 15 offers D1, and your comment was, I had no choice and had to take. Maybe I missed that part.
He told you why.
Yeah.
Because of his mom?
His mom said that's where you go and you can take whatever
that was
visits you want.
Okay,
you're going to play for him.
Because Coach recruited your
Coach
mom
Caldwell.
And not you. Okay,
yes.
that's what
that
meant.
Was the smart part, because if he would have got me, I'd have been like, no, I ain't going to you, dude. No, you know who you are, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm Michigan, Arkansas was on my list, I mean, I really wanted to go to Michigan, Syracuse, Donovan McNabb was my host.
Ohio State, you never
then.
know. Yeah.
But I'm glad it did, I mean, you got to think of North Carolina as such a great place to go to school. You got so many schools here.
So many schools.
D1, right in NC State, Duke, Wake Forest, right in that vicinity right there. Then the HBCUs, and then the all-girls schools, the Bennett College, right there. Then dude, I was like,
Salem's and the Carolinas.
Salem.
The App
Pirates.
States,
East Why'd you say Salem, Chris?
Because it was a school in Winston.
Yeah, but why Salem?
It was a school in Winston, bro.
What kind of school?
I feel like there's something here.
No,
what kind of
school? What are we missing?
Something's up here.
It was a what?
There's a connection there.
Oh, it was an all-girls school in Winston.
That's
what
he's
at an all-girls school.
That's what he's hunting, Chad.
School?
Listen, we got friends.
I knew that. That's going somewhere.
Yeah, there was something we're clued in on, Rick. We weren't demon deacons and
hey, I'll save that for the other show coming out called Men on Pause. AKA menopause, for us married men.
All right, so I'll finish up real quick. I love NASCAR was the best kept secret.
Yep.
And I love my man Chris Justice like a brother. So let's take you back to 2004. I've been a fan of this sport since I was a little boy growing up in Cleveland, Ohio. So I see the sport much differently than you guys did. 2003. And you guys said you grew up around Atlanta Motor Speedway, Chris, Charlotte Motor Speedway, never looked at it twice. as a black man because what did you think the sport thought of you?
I don't think they I don't think they gravitated to our market.
Yeah.
We
were only janitors, in my opinion, in the sport, right? Trash taker outers, janitors, maybe some parking lot attendants, but never a factor. You know what I mean? Like, you never saw any color on any publication if it wasn't talking about Wendell Scott, right? So
did you think it was still like old school Southern racist moonshiners with the Confederate flag?
It was
Ricky Bobby.
I walked in some shops, Ricky Bobby.
I get it.
And it was not pleasing at all, right?
Yeah,
so
I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Yeah.
Home of the KKK. You know, I'm from Stone Mountain. I could look at the mountain where they have the carvings of the Confederate officers, and I could see the candles and the torches, you know, from my house. So I recognize it, but that also makes me, you know, not entertained by it because I'm here for another goal.
Yeah.
And the more that you don't want me, the more it motivated me. You know what you just reminded me of? I remembered for my first 6 races at Richmond Raceway, we had to park across the street. You know, the traffic was so bad. It was so crazy. We get so packed there. You would park about a mile away, and you would be walking all the way in.
Yeah.
And I was more terrified of the walk than anything in my life. Because I was worried about somebody triggering me. I was worried about, so that's when I started wearing my headphones. I started wearing headphones. I created that. When you see pit crew members on headphones, they used to make fun of me of wearing my headphones on pit road, and I didn't have anything on. I would just have it. So 1, you would have your guard down. I could hear what you're saying. 2, you know, you wouldn't talk to me. You would think I was working because I was scared of having to control myself. But then that fades out. And then once you start winning races and you're seeing that you're here, you get motivated by that. Yeah. You look for the haters because then you want to see them next time. Be like, once they started knowing my name, and who I was, where I was from in that uniform, I was like, see, when Hendrick Motorsports hired me full time, I am the first black man to ever work full time at Hendrick Motorsports as a mechanic who never changed his oil. They hired me full time to work on race cars, and I never knew what a wrench was because I was an athlete who could do special things, right? And I didn't take it for granted and just shun it. Oh, F this mechanic shit. You know, I ain't no mechanic. These rednecks ain't know nothing. I was in the wash bay cleaning parts, and I'm sizing up the guys with me. There's a 21-year-old in there, and there's a 53-year-old in there with me. And, you know, we're talking about school, and I went to Wake Forest and this, and they're sizing me up. They never graduated high school. Never graduated high school, and he's working at Hendrick Motorsports, you know, and he's been there forever. You know what I thought of?
Think he's still there, Rock.
I said, damn. You know who I'm talking about? MB. When I saw that, I didn't look down on him. I said, God dang, that's the lick. What the hell am I been doing? What the hell am I doing all this work, going to school, doing all this stuff when guys are coming in here at 18, 16-year-olds in a race shop making 60, 80K, working their way up to 6 figures, and they don't even have a high school degree, but they're wizards with welding and tools and eyeballing bolts. And I was so impressed that the first thing I did was started copying them. Everything that they bought. When I found out we had credit on the Mack truck, dude, that Mack truck would come every Tuesday. Everything that they bought, my toolbox looked 3 times better than everybody's. Mike Lingerfeld, and I never used the tools. That's what they talk shit. Man, you got the best looking toolbox, never used it. I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna keep stacking them up, you know. But I was learning. I was watching them. I was being a sponge. I was a college graduate, yo. You think after 3 years, I done went from the fuel cell to rear suspension. They were blocking me from front suspension because they thought I was learning too much. So they wouldn't work around me, and they were hiding, you know, and then they were complaining. So you know what I did? I put a boom box under the car when I would take the suspension off and the fuel cell and have my music playing. Because I said, and this was me being petty. This is when I was learning how to deal. I'm like, if y'all gonna talk shit about how fast I run and call me names, all this behind my back and your little inside jokes, I want to make sure I don't hear you. I started wearing my headphones, and then I started putting my boombox in, and then that turned into they started learning the music. Then that turned into them starting to listen to it. Then that turned into them starting to hang out with me and ask me to lunch. And then that turned into them starting telling me how many black friends they have. And I'm like, okay, I'm in here now.
You'd have made it.
But I wasn't doing it on purpose. I wasn't doing it because I felt like they needed it and this is what needed to be done. I just said, look, I'm trying to be better. They ain't going to hold me back. And a byproduct of that, I made some good friends and some people got to know a guy that they never and got to experience things they never would have been able to experience if not for me. I had conversations with guys in that shop they never would have had before if not for me. I made lifelong friends, in that shop that they never would have thought they could have had if not for me. All because of America's best kept secret.
Nice.
That NASCAR in that race shop. Wait, you remember back in the day before this new body and the fabricators were the rock stars?
Oh, fabricate, especially this time of year.
Yeah, right yeah, absolutely. Before next gen.
Yes, sir. Fabricator.
When I saw that, when I saw that in the shop and saw that they had the mechanics had their versions of Ray Lewis's and Tom Brady, too, and they were just as arrogant and as confident. They wouldn't show up at all during the week, but until speed weeks, and then they show up and then they at the track and like, damn, who are these dudes? I began seeing like, look, we are all the same people here. We are all the same. We're all competing. Who cares what we look like, dudes? Who cares how I sound and how I look? We are all competing for the same damn thing. And I feel like we all learned that there during those years at Hendrick. Those were the best years at Hendrick. I'm going to say the best years because shit, every year, I was a part of Hendrick for 11 years and Jimmy Johnson won the championship 5 times. 7 times. And I was his teammate. Imagine I didn't start thinking about till recently, till we started changing the format because the format is going back to the chase. Right. During the chase, I finished second to the championship over 7 times with Jimmy Johnson winning all those times. And we're going back to that. But I say that to say during that time, that is probably the closest I've seen mechanics turn into ballers, athletes. Okay? They did. They started thinking like us. They started thinking like me. If you, Alan Gustafson, Stevie Letarte, and Chad Ganassi, they would never admit this, but I swagged them up, working for them for those years. They took notes. They watched me. They did. I know they did. We're not that far in age, okay? We're not. So we learned from each other. Those were some smart guys. But I showed them stuff that they've never seen from this Atlanta dude from Georgia, who didn't know NASCAR existed. And that's what I'm most proud of. And I feel like we're all doing that. If you're over 40 in NASCAR and you have more than 15 years in this sport, that's a part of your responsibility now too. Mm. Is we have to show these younger participants in our sport how to do this shit right. You get what I'm saying? Because they didn't know until they got in and started watching guys who did it before them. All right. And this is the only job I've had.
I pull some cats to the side and we have chats and talk about how to make it and how to make yourself relevant when the jacks are gone and the guns are gone, the fuel cans are gone. You got to still stay relevant, stay in the sport. So you have to grab the young guys and coach them.
Well, even I mean, I'm coming into this sport. I mean, I've been a lifelong fan, fan my whole life, but as, a crew member of the sport at 40 years old, and I'm calling these two jokers every day. Hey, tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I need to know.
Yeah. Where'd you come from before here? Yes, you said you're new to this. I mean, you were a lifelong fan, but what about before here?
Yeah. I was a country music artist. I did that for years.
So you were just a fan. Okay.
Yeah. And then, diehard fan, whole life.
Who's your favorite driver?
My favorite driver was Sterling Marlin. That was my guy for
why? Because the Coors Lights?
No, I was the number 4 Kodak was it for me back in the day. I loved it.
Morgan McClure.
Yes, back to back Daytona 500s. I was all in on Sterling, and he was my guy till he retired. Then I became a Kyle Busch guy, and I'm still a Kyle Busch guy.
Hang in there.
I think we were the reason he retired. They put the worst pit crew on his crew because they were kind of pushing him out for Jamie McMurray.
He's that screwed us. I'm going back to Tennessee. I'm going back to Nashville.
Put them rookies on there. What they doing back there? What they doing? I think on our first stop at Daytona, we sent him out there on 3 tires, sparking down pit road. And guess what? I remember our first ARCA race. We put our football helmets on. We had one from Chapel Hill, Lenore Ryan. I had my Wake Forest helmet. We had an NC State helmet, and we were all pitting in the ARCA race with our football. I'm over here.
That's outstanding.
I'm thinking down memory lane. Oh, Sterling Marlin days.
Yes.
Man, we called ourselves the G Unit back on Sterling's crew because it was Chip Ganassi, and we would go down pit road like G Unit, G Unit.
That's incredible. I wish
times.
I wish I could have been a file on the wall.
Good times.
Yeah.